Want an easy way to customize your TYPO3 backend forms? Let me introduce you to TCEForm and show you how we can use them and implement them to easily customize our backend forms. Hello guys, my name is Yasin and I'm a senior PHP developer. I've created a Discord server. If you're interested, I would be answering your question there, and I will also be live streaming and doing Q&A type live streams. So guys, let's get into it. So I've prepared here the documentation page of the TCEForm. As you can see guys, I've also prepared a demo project to showcase the different use cases for the TCEForms. So let's log in guys. Let's see. Yeah, I'm in. So I will be showing examples of using the TCEForm inside the page data type. So I will be applying it to the page table. So guys, if you don't know what TCEForm actually do, just think of it like this. So TCEForm simply change how our backend forms are rendered. So you would be defining how your backend forms will be rendered in the TCA configuration of each table. With TCEForms, we can easily and quickly change things and do little tweaks without the need of changing our TCA configuration. So guys, this is what I'm talking about. So you see, for example, you see this view. So you see how this inputs and these fields are rendered. This is all presented using the TCE configuration of each table. So this is the page table. If you go and take a look at its definition, so this is the TCA configuration of the page table. So as you can see here, it's simply, one second guys, as you can see, this long configuration simply configuring how my page table form is rendered. So if I go to, one second, let's take a look here. So this is the definition of the palettes, and this is the definition of how it would look like. Yeah. So guys, if you don't have an idea of how these items are presented and what these keywords mean, you can check my TCA configuration video. I've explained there in details every part of a TCA configuration. So to wrap it up guys, this is simply a way to show how my form is rendered. So as you can see here, under the types, I'm saying for this type, so let me go back to my backend. So I'm saying for this type, this is the doc type. So I'm showing different forms based on this field, on this doc type. So if I change to, let's say, to standard, then I may get more tabs. For example, let's change back it to backend user. I'm having less tabs. So this I'm simply defining in my TCA configuration how the backend form rendering would look like for each type. That's the general idea behind it. So with TCEForms, we can simply tweak this and change things without the need of doing anything in our original TCA configuration. So it simply makes it faster for us guys to change and tweak things. So, and also we can of course 1 second, guys. So we can of course like change things. As you can see here, we can of course change things based on a page. So we can also include a TCA form configuration on a page, on a single page, and we can also include it for the whole site. So I'll show you maybe the 3 or 4 ways to include the TCA form configuration. So the TCA form configuration comes with the page TS configuration, so it is included inside the page TS configuration. So let's take a look at the ways of how we can include these configurations in our code. So let me go back to our code. Let me go back to my extension. So this is a custom extension that I've created to load the page TS configuration. So we have 3 ways, as I've mentioned, to include the page TS configuration. If you're using TYPO3 13, you may simply define a page.tsconfig file under your set configuration. So as you can see here, I've created a set. This would only work in TYPO3 13 and above. So you may define simply a set and include your page TS configuration like I've did here. As you can see, let me comment these out. I will explain them later, guys. So yep, good. So let's go back to our documentation. So exactly. So as I've mentioned, we can either include it inside the set. So if you're using TYPO3 13, this will work automatically. Simply define a set, and under the set main directory, just define a page.tsconfig file, and it will be included automatically in your site. So, but let's say you want to not like include it automatically for the whole site. There is also a way for that, and we will do it like this. So there is 2 methods. You can either directly add the TCA configuration with this method. Let me see if we find an example. Yeah, for example, this like this. So if I go here and say, let me go back to my code. Let's go to my, so let me create here a new file, xlocalconf.php. So if I go here, guys, and do something like this, so if I do simply something like this, as you can see, this is deprecated, so it will be removed in TYPO3 14. I will be simply including my page tsconfig like this for the whole site. So, but we don't need that because we're in TYPO3 13, so it's already included directly inside the set. There is also another way that I'd like to show. So let's comment this out. So you can do something like this. Let's go back here. So you can do something like this. So I'm simply exposing my page.tsconfig file to be later selected from the drop down from the select that I've shown earlier. So let's go back to my backend. So as you can see, I've exposed it. Let's go back to my backend. Let me clear all caches. So no TCE definition for table pages. So guys, the problem was that the tables TCA configuration was not initializing. So this was initializing too quickly. So I was adding a page TS configuration to the table without any TCA configuration present. That's why I've gotten that error. So I've moved it to the overrides, so to the TCA overrides, which will be loaded later. So they will be loaded after the TCA configuration load. As you can see, I've moved it simply here. And if we take a look, if you go now and take a look, yeah, I can simply add a TCA form configuration by page. Yeah, and guys, if you like want to learn how to debug and find things and not waste much time debugging in TYPO3, simply join the Discord, and I will simply show you how in live streams, and you can ask me any questions. Yeah. So let's keep going. So I've shown you the 3 ways on how to include the TCA form configuration. So the page TS configuration, which we will then be including our TCA form configuration. I've opened the TCA form configuration, the documentation, sorry guys, to simply go over some important use cases that you may use. And yeah, let's test it out, guys. So as you can see here in the documentation, we have this format. So you would start with the TCA form, then table name, then field name, then property name. And there is also a way configuring the table name, field name, types, type name, and property name. The types are simply the ones defined in the TCA configuration. I can, for example, define a TCA configuration only for the standard page, or I can define it like only for backend user section, or I can define it for all. So don't worry guys, I will show you some use cases and we will test them out. So you can also change flex form configuration with the page TS configuration. So you would simply, for example, let's say we have a flex form. We can simply add items to a field, for example, or such things. So you can do many things. So let's start out, guys, by, for example, adding an item. So let's say I want to add an item to this drop down. As you can see here, guys, this is already good documented. So as you can see, it tells us that we can only use it for the select fields. So there is also an example. It says simply, for example, table name, this is the property name, and then this is the function. As I've said, we will use it for our page table. So it will be TCA form page and then dot, let's see the field name, then dot doc type. So this is the database field name. doc type, and then add items, and I will be adding the items. So here it tells us how I can add items. So I must first define a key, and I can directly simply define a label, or I can do something like this: define the label, and then inside that key, inside the icon, I can also define an icon. So let's say something like this. So if I change this, as you can see, guys, you see this icon. This is the definition of the icon. I will show you guys also an example on how to do that. So, and you can also group them by special. So the groups and things like that are also defined in the TCA configuration, and you can simply alter things using that. So for example, the alternative labels, it helps us simply change labels inside of drop down, for example. So let's say you want to change a standard to page standard, for example. You will use the alt labels. Let's keep going, guys. So this page ts config id, these are placeholders, so we call them markers in the TYPO3, and you can simply, they are like constants, you can simply set them, which will later be used inside TCA configuration. So let's say for my page, I define the page ts config id equals, let's take an example, equals 22. Then later in my TCA configuration, I can call this number. Let's say when I'm doing an SQL query on a foreign table, I can simply use this constant directly to filter, for example, items by page ID, for example. So let's keep going. So this is simply assign a palette, color palette to the field. So this is the this is very important, guys. So I can configure the TCA configuration. So I will be reconfiguring the table. As you can see, for inputs, I can reconfigure the size, the read-only property, the max. So I can't configure all properties like in the TCA configuration. I can't be changing all attributes, but I can. It is showing me here what attributes I can be changing based on the type of the field. So as you can see here, guys, this is the tree config. You can simply, this is the render type select tree. If you don't know what a select tree is, simply like this one, this is a select tree. So you can simply define, like, change configuration and such. Again, guys, everything here can be done in the TCA configuration, but here we can simply change things really fast. If you want like quick change, quick tweak, we don't need to change in the TCA configuration. We can simply use the page CS configuration. So let's keep going. So as you can see, you can disable a field. You can add description to a field. So there are many options that you can do. I won't go over all of them, but guys, yeah, you can remove items, description. As you can see, this is flex form, like give a sheet title, sheet short description. This is for the flex form and such, guys. So you can give suggestions. So you can do way too many things, but I'll show you like 4 or 5 use cases, guys. And you can later read the documentation, and if you have any questions, you can simply ask me in the comments. So let's keep going. So let's start with the add items. Maybe the config and also the remove items. Let's test these things out. So based on my experience, this is the most properties that I've used with TCEForm. So I can't remember using, for example, the skip items or things or sheet description or things like that. But as I've said, it's based. It depends on the project, and yeah. So TYPO3 gives us the option, the full flexibility to change things. But based on my experience, I think I've used only the add items, alt tables, remove items, disabled, and probably the label. So simply changing a label of a field. So let's say if you want to change like type to types or something like that. So yeah, let's test it out. We can, for example, change type to type. So this is an interesting use case. Let's go to our label. So it tells us here simply label. So it is TCEForm table name, field name, label. So I will do something like that. So let's, as you can see, you can use the XLF files for the localization, but for our case I will not be using it. So let's go to my page TS configuration, which is already included in my set. So I'll do something like this. I will go here and say doc type. So I'm simply gonna change doc type. Let's call it, for example, types. So types of pages, for example. Instead of type, I will simply change it to type of pages. So let's go back here. Let me clear my cache. As you can see, it became type of pages. So let's say I want to add a new item. Let's say I want to add a new item called, let's call it standard page. So we have standard, and let's call it standard page, for example. It should come under the page group. So let me go take a look at the documentation. Let's go. As you can see, this is of type select. So this is select. I can add items to it using the items property. So let's go here. I will simply do something like this. So let's copy this block for the sake of it. So I will go here and do something like that. So as I've said, this is pages, and the property is doc type. So let me change, let's call it standard page. We can also give it a localized key, but we're not doing that. I can simply give the group. So this is the groups that defined, guys. So I have the page and link and special group. You may be asking, where are these groups defined? They are always defined inside the TCA configuration. So if I go to my pages.php, I'm looking inside the TCA configuration of TYPO3. If I go here and let's look at the groups. So let's see where the groups are. As you can see, the groups are defined here. As you can see, group default, group default, group default, and link and special. And this is the item groups with the localization. So for our case, we will put it under default, or let's put it under special. So let's go here. For the group, I will do special, which is already there. I can also add an icon. So I can define a custom icon like this. So simply add a path to my custom icon, or I can also define icons using TYPO3 icon engine, and simply use the key of the icon. So let's go back here. As you can see here, the icons are defined. So yep, exactly. So as you can see here, this is the icons which are defined like this. Let's simply show an example. So let me find it. Yeah, here guys. Yeah, here. So they are defined in this icons.json, and yeah, they're simply loaded directly inside the TYPO3 backend. So we can use them. Let's say I want to use this icon. Let's say yeah, I'm simply choosing any icon. Let's go back here. And guys, if anything a little bit difficult for you guys, this is normal at the beginning. Simply comment and ask me any question. I will answer you. There is no stupid questions. So we've created our configuration. So I've added this new standard page. Let's take a look how that looks like. So as you can see, standard page. Let me change it, for example. As you can see, I have this icon, which is the icon I've defined here, which is this icon, external root, so which is simply this icon. So I've defined my type. Everything looks good. So let's say I want to disable. One second, guys. Let me go back to. Let's say I want to disable the subtitle. So I want simply remove it from this rendering. So if I go back here, so let's see. Let me look for disabled. If I go here, yeah, as you can see, we can follow the same structure. Let's go here and do something like this. Pages, I think subtitle. So let's reload the frame. Subtitle, I've written it wrong. So let's go back and fix that. Don't forget, guys, to always clear the cache whenever you change something in your TYPO3 configuration or your PageTS configuration. So it is removed. As you can see, guys, it is simply removed. Let's say I want to only disable it for a certain type. So this is a good use case. So let's say I want to disable it for only for standard. So I want it to simply be disabled for standard. I will do something like this. So let's take a look. This is explained here. So I will do types dot type name, then dot property name. So let's change this. I will go here and do pages, field table name, field name, dot types name dot types dot type name, which is in our case, let's take a look what type name I have, which is 1. That's our type name, which is 1. And then let's set it to disabled. So if I go back here, it shouldn't be changed, so I should still be not seeing it. But if I changed, for example, to a different type, then it should appear, as you can see, guys. So I can either globally remove it for all types, or simply change it by type. So and if you're wondering, guys, the types are configured in the TCA configuration. So I'm saying the TCA configuration that the doc type should be my type, and I'm rendering multiple forms based on that doc type. So let's go back, guys. Let's show an example of removing items. Let's go back to our documentation. So remove items. Guys, if you're enjoying the video, simply leave a like, and yeah, thanks for the support, guys. So the remove items, this is like the add items. I must simply here define the values of the remove items. So if I go to my for example, let's take another example. Let's take this layout field. If I go here, I'll do something like this. So instead of doc type, I will do layout, and then remove items. I'll do 1 and 2, for example. So as you can see, this layout 1 and layout 2 should be removed. So let me reload the frame. As you can see, they are removed. So guys, and that's like what you can do with TCA forms. There are all multiple properties and functions that you can also use, and it really makes life easier, because as you can see, with simple lines, we've changed how forms are rendered, which is amazing. And yeah, if you have any question about any properties, I'd love to answer you and help you out. Don't forget to join the Discord to ask me directly the question that you want. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.